Drop a crab emoji if you want to see Danny drink the juice.
Bucket. If you drop the crab emoji, I'll drink the juice.
Where's the trash at?
The dumpster out here. Okay. I don't want to smell it.
I need a toothpick.
A toothpick.
Let me hold a toothpick. We can't even go out to dinner anywhere, Matt. What do we
I
do
know.
now?
I can't. I mean, boy, he planned this.
He did, huh?
The whole
He didn't. Nobody said nothing to me
the
about
whole
food.
coronavirus thing. He planned it
Danny?
to make sure all the restaurants were shut down so that we couldn't go.
Oh, you didn't have to pay
Couldn't
for
get,
us.
no.
And
And
all
listen,
that's left is
eh,
crab.
the
Not the crab.
the best restaurant he's brought me to is Waffle House.
Waffle House.
You're not going to get much better than that.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah, I
that's the
love
best,
Waffle
and I love Waffle
That's
House.
top level for him.
But for him, that I mean he's
he's
driving. What are
selling
you
you.
driving? A Land Rover? What is it?
He's selling you short. Should
Yeah,
be taking
he's
you
something else.
it's at a 5 stars.
Yeah, this guy.
Yeah.
Matt,
Dollhouse.
when you first came on the podcast, we honestly
Penthouse.
thought that you might have been hitting on Shane. We thought that you might have been horny for Shane.
Look, is
We
is
didn't
that
know.
true?
Come on.
No,
Tell
see, he's come
Did I
on.
not say that after the first podcast?
Yeah, we got some crab emojis.
We were getting some vibes from you, Matt. We thought that you might have
Nice.
You might have been playing
Nice.
both sides of the fence. We thought that maybe you
Nice.
didn't leave it behind the gate.
behind the? Listen, if I was gay, I would have stayed in prison. I'd have been perfectly happy. The gay guys in prison are the happiest guys there. They're really okay with everything. It's like being in a women's prison. You're like,
Yeah. Where are we at? What are we doing? People are dropping.
You're
crabs.
drinking crab juice. We got a lot
There's
of
a lot
crabs
of
in
crab
the chat. A lot of
emojis.
crabs. Where my crabs at? We got a lot of Waffle House and crabs.
All right, let's let Shane finish eating these crab legs, and I'll drink the juice.
oh, are you?
He's
oh,
done.
I know you're joking.
Where are we at?
We're about to watch you
Set-
drink some crab juice.
Set the crab legs aside.
Should we put some Jack Daniels in the crab juice?
Yeah, a little bit of Jack. Should we?
All right, do we have another question here? What are we doing? It's just 2 hours. We're going on 2 hours.
It feels like we just started.
Danny picked the worst stuff to ask.
Why would you pull it up
like
so
the
high?
worst?
Why is it the worst?
Just long, stupid questions.
Just because you don't want to
Yeah,
read
he
it. 'cause
can't
you're so
read the
hot.
yeah the long. He can't
Look,
read the long.
like,
He's
question.
doing fine.
Listen to this one. Not really a question.
Well, then don't read
So
that
they're
one.
like not even questions.
If it's not a question, then
Half
don't
of
read
them
that
are
one.
questions. Yeah, read it. It's a great comment.
Yeah, what is it?
is it
They're
a
letting
good
you know it's
comment?
not a
Okay.
question.
We want to know his reaction to the comment.
Not really a question. Hey, Matt, I take criminal justice courses at school, and we had to do a presentation on criminal of our choice. Most people chose Bundy, the Zodiac killer, people like that, but I chose you. Your life,
Fuck yeah.
Nice.
your
Hell
life,
yeah.
your life of crime from this podcast just intrigued me so much. You're an excellent storyteller as well. Glad you got your life turned around. That's from Antonio 53 minutes ago.
That's got to make you
That's-
feel good.
Yeah, that's good.
How do you feel? How does that make you feel?
You like that?
No, that makes me feel good. It's like
Here,
when it's like when the guys that he's got another one.
Yeah,
And
there's a
here's-
lot of shit like this.
I was gonna say there's, and then there's the ones that
Chris
you're a
Swanner
scumbag.
5 months ago. He's the most interesting, self-centered narcissist I've ever liked. I watched all 3 videos, first 2 back to back. I couldn't turn it off.
It's funny that you completely love the self-centered narcissist thing.
I have no problem with it. It's like
No, it's not that you don't have a problem with it. You kind of you push it.
I don't because it's true.
You own it.
Don't you have to own it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got
I mean, look, what could I say? I could sit here and go, "That's not true," really, because everything about you says something different. So for you to sit there and deny that, it gives power to the people that are saying it in a negative light. I don't see it in a negative light. I know it's a thing. I know it's definitely I want to say it's an issue. And in some ways I'm working on it, and in some ways I'm running with it. So, if I could tweak it enough so that I actually, gave a shit about other people more, that would help. But it's difficult for me to focus in on other people without trying to switch the conversation back to me.
Yeah.
And it's an asshole thing to do. And I see myself doing it all the time. And I'll walk away from a conversation and be like, God, you self-centered fucking selfish prick. You just had that whole conversation with this person, and every time you tried to you turned it back on yourself. And I'll see myself doing it in the middle of a conversation.
You know what I noticed about your podcast, or not your podcast, but when you went on Bubba the Love Sponge's show, Bubba's always turning stuff about, making stuff about him.
Right.
Like he's interviewing you, and the Diaco guys are talking about you or whatever. And before he kind of like gave in finally and let you tell the story, I feel like he was always talking about something, like trying to relate it to himself or talking about something that he went through and asking questions. It seemed like he was.
Well, I think to be in entertainment or to be a personality, you have to have a certain amount of narcissism.
Yeah.
I mean, Bubba's
that's
definitely a
true.
narcissist.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, but
Do you think
but
Bubba's
he also
a bigger
owns it?
Do you think Bubba's a bigger narcissist than you are?
I hope so. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I honestly,
Way to be modest. For once.
I honestly, if I could change it, I would, and I'm constantly struggling to make alterations to the behavior, and it's difficult. And knowing it, you would think knowing it, like they're like, admitting you have a problem is half the battle. It's the first step. Bro, listen, I've known it. I've known it for a long time, and it's fucking difficult. Sometimes I just get sick of myself. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I don't know what the question was.
Neither do I. How was the Bubba podcast? Or the Bubba, when you went on Bubba's show, how many times did you go on Bubba the Love Sponge?
Twice. I was excited just to go on because I grew
up
with
he's big shot.
I grew up, on
He was the Howard Stern of the South.
Yeah.
Of the Tampa Bay area.
I think he
Yeah.
worked with Howard Stern.
Yeah, he's good friends with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I thought the podcast was fun. I went on it twice, but here's the problem is that it's a much different format, and it's a fraternity club kind of guys screaming and hollering, and kind of like this, but amplified. They really talk over each other.
But you were with a couple of lawyers and then Bubba.
Yeah, but the lawyers were better than Bubba. But it's the same thing. It's a lot of cutting up, and that's what people want to. They want to hear, and then when you're listening to a radio program, that's kind of what you want to hear. But it's like, okay, but I'm not one of the personalities here. You asked me here to tell my story, and then I start telling the story, and they interrupt and they laugh and they choke, and it's like,
Right, you can't
well,
tell
I kind
the story.
I feel like I'm supposed to get through the whole story. That's what you asked me to do, and you keep interrupting, and it keeps stretching. And next thing you know, it's 3 hours. I haven't gone through the story, and it's like I feel like I fucked up. Like I thought you wanted me to tell. Like I can't stop you from interrupting and talking.
Yeah.
So it's like, what did I fuck up? Is it me, or am I not understanding? And the other thing is, you go on these podcasts, and like you never talk to the guys. Like the guy from Valuetainment, I figured, okay, well, because like even with you, when I got here, well, the first time we were here, I got here, I sat down, you said, okay, well, here's how it's kind of going to be, and you explained everything.
Yeah.
You said, yeah, we'll just talk about this. Just tell your story. How long's your story? What do you want to talk about? What do you think? So what's the best? You kind of had a little, it was only 5 minutes, but we had a discussion. When I went to Valuetainment, I walked in, the guy's sitting there, he's like, hey, Matthew Cox, right? Hey, how are you? Yeah,
That was a great impression of his voice, by the way.
Oh, yeah. And so I sit down, and I'm like, hey, he's like, okay, well, yeah, we're going to go ahead and roll. And I'm like, well, where are we? This is it? He's like, yeah, I've already read everything on you. I know the story. I got you everything. I was like, oh, okay. So, and then boom, it just started.
Time is money.
I had no understanding what was going to happen. Same thing with Vlad. I sat down, his picture comes on. We talked for maybe a minute or two about a release he asked me to sign. And I was like, the way it's worded, this and this, I'm not quite sure. I don't feel comfortable with this. He's like, well, you can write this in, fix it. However, what do you want to say? I said, I just want to say this right here. And he's like, okay, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. So we changed a couple of things.
So you literally signed a physical release, even though he was on Skype. So the camera guy had a release.
Yeah, I had a release with Vlad, for the podcast. Same kind of thing I signed for Valuetainment, but basically what they ask you for like everything.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of almost, it's not like you're signing over stuff, but they act like, oh, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. But I've been in the situation where it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. And you sign. And then later on, it's like, oh, well, you signed here. You signed. Yeah, but you said that wasn't what I was signing. You said it was this. And, oh, that's what you signed. You're like, well, fuck. So I always kind of read through it and say,
You
look,
learn the hard way.
Yeah, I'm not good with this. And they're like, scribble that out. And I'm like, look, if you're only going to put it on your platform, you're not going to sell it for a documentary. You're not going to, no. It's just for my platform. It will only be, okay, great. Let's say that. And then I jot it down. So we had a quick discussion. He said, no problem. I jot it down, take a picture. And the next thing you know, he's like, okay, let's go ahead and start. Boom. So really, this has been like probably one of the best podcasts I've been on. Even though he's crazy and it's long and it's like, but it's more casual, and you don't.
What's more casual?
This.
Oh,
for me. The Valuetainment guy was good. Was pretty good too. They're all good. They're all good. I'm not saying they're bad.
Those guys have been doing it way longer than I have or than we have. Those guys have been doing those like one-on-one interview type shows for a long time, and they've done a shitload more than I have. That's for sure.
But you're not trying to put yourself in the story. You're not trying to dictate the story. You're like, so what happened? You're just like, so what happened next? Yeah. So what happened next? Yeah. So you get to tell the story that you want to tell.
Well, neither is Vlad. I mean, Vlad's not even on camera. He's just
but he does. No, he's not. He's asking questions, and he's jumping. So if you have a certain, like for me, I have a chronological story that I basically tell. It's my story. You say, tell me your story. Do you jump from college back to high school and then to when you worked when you were 50 and then back to and then all the way back to the beginning? Or do you tell your story? If you had to tell your story, would you tell it chronologically?
Yeah.
Say it chronologically. Some of these guys are all over the place. Yeah. And sometimes they're asking questions like, so what do you think about mortgage rates right now? No, fuck, I'm not in the mortgage industry. I've been in the mortgage industry for 15 years. Mm-hmm. How would I know what rates are going to do? What do you think the current real estate market's going to do? I don't own anything. I don't own a piece of property. I don't have my finger on the pulse of real estate, so I don't know. Mm-hmm. So it's funny that they would even think that I would have any idea of what's going on.
Well, those guys know what they're doing. Probably so more than we do. So
doubt it.
Next question.